Shalom, shalom, shalom. Please unmute yourself. Wow, that's amazing. Ann, how are you?
Well, I'm fine. I'm fine. I've got a brand new computer and have to have somebody else work it. So
It looks like you have a whole cinematographer team over there. With
yes.
a boom and I don't know what else. You're going all over the place.
Well, we've got three people missing and that are normally here. Plus, Gidon, there's a gentleman who there's so we record this because the people who can you hear me?
I hear you very well.
Okay. There's people missing today that normally are here, and we said that we would record it. So can you
Good.
record it for us?
It is being recorded. It is being recorded as we speak.
Okay, okay. Well, this is my friend, you know Gidon, but you all don't. You know Gidon too.
What's his last name?
Okay. Ariel. Ariel. And I don't know how many saw I sent you the about the lost sheep. Did anybody watch that last week?
Yeah.
Tell them, Bob's Echo Bible, Echoes with S, Bible, bye-bye.
I'm gonna join you on Zoom in a minute. So someone
Made me think about you.
Right.
It made me think about the lost sheep. Actually, you talked about three things, echoes, but I like the echo, pardon me, the lost sheep has always resonated with me. Can you tell them because you said that every Jewish child knows about the most famous shepherd.
Okay, I did not realize that's what we were going to be talking about. I would have done my homework, but
let's start that off because I want to talk about the Echoes Bible, and it just some people I've given a copy to. So can you just tell them that, and then we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Okay, first of all, is there a person that is behind the camera over there? Or is the camera automatically moving around on your side?
It's automatic.
That is amazing.
It's just the
And
computer.
when you talk, it focuses on you. When somebody else talks, it focuses on them. That's really amazing.
And I tell you, we bought from Amazon. It'll be here today. A camera so we can live stream these people that come here. So of course I'll have
That's amazing.
help with that. I can't even work the email.
And I see that Alicia has just come in. For now, she
had
is.
to leave.
She came
She has just come in from her phone or from her computer somewhere from elsewhere.
Mhm.
And she's Alicia, if you hear me, then you are invited to unmute yourself and unhide yourself.
Hi, yeah, I was actually just there setting up the computer, but I have to leave now and I'll be driving, so that's why I'm going to mute and hide the video for now.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we have Alicia who is sort of with us. And who else is with you over there, Ann? Please introduce yourselves.
Why don't you start?
Christy. Hi, Gidon.
Christy Ingram.
Hi, Chrissy. How are you?
Good. Just hanging out with my grandbaby. He's 8 months old.
You know, I just had a new grandbaby myself.
Oh, really? Congratulations.
My daughter just had her fourth, and altogether that makes that new grandbaby my 10th.
Wow. Mazel tov.
Toda rabah. Chrissy, where do you live? Not far from Ann?
No, I live far from Ann, but I drive. On Tuesday, we do a little Torah study together. So Tuesdays, I'm here.
Okay, wonderful. And who else is with us over here?
Hi, Gidon. My name is Monica Ruby. I think I met you in Jerusalem last year. You came to an event at CFI, Christian Friends of Israel.
Well, I'm guessing, sometimes I'm a good guesser, that event was the Jerusalem premiere of Brian Sanders' movie, We Love Israel or something like that.
Maybe so much has happened since then. I
You can say that
remember,
again.
but that's probably what it was.
And where do you live?
Now here in Granbury, so I'm probably about 15 minutes from Ann.
Wonderful. And who's
11
next?
Jennifer. Monica and I are best friends from college.
Wow, Izzy
So
10.
it's been a while. Jennifer Schoonover and I live nearby, and that's why we're together here.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer, do you think we've ever met?
I don't think so.
Okay, this is always the first time. Naimad. And I see there's somebody to the right of Anne.
Hi, Gidon. I'm Carol Ernst, and my husband and I have met you here at Ann's, and then we saw you in Jerusalem on the trip in May with Ann.
Wonderful.
So,
Okay, is there anybody else who's hiding?
that's it.
That's it.
Okay, so first of all, I'll try my best. First of all, how much time do we have here today?
You know, I'm just here. So if somebody has to leave, we can just talk.
Okay, so we'll try to cap it at about 9 o'clock, at about 45 minutes or so.
All right.
Well, more or less. What you asked about the most famous the concept again, I will try to address just the word shepherds and the concept that there was a parable in the New Testament about shepherds, which I discussed with the book open. I'm not going to take the time now to redo that entire video, but I will say that as you asked about any school child would know that shepherding was the main Jewish profession in the time of the Bible. Abraham was a shepherd. Isaac was a shepherd. As a matter of fact, famously, there were 7 shepherds that were made famous in some way by a relatively popular song that is based on some sort of a text that is connected to the festival of Sukkot, of Tabernacles. These 7 shepherds were Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Aaron and Moses, David, and and Joseph. Now, of course, all 12 children of Jacob were shepherds. If you remember the passage in the book of Genesis, which we're soon going to be reading in the weekly portion, Jacob's 12 sons starts out with how Joseph would make his brothers jealous, and there was some sibling rivalry, to say it in an understatement, and they ended up all 11, actually all 10, because Jacob's younger brother was too young at the time. 10 of his brothers, his brothers from another mother, went to herd his sheep, Jacob's sheep. They went up to Dotan, which today is not far from Har Bracha, actually, which is actually an interesting question because they were in Hebron. And what are they going all the way up to Nablus to tend the sheep? In any case, that's how Jacob, and Joseph was also a shepherd at the time. So those were the 7 shepherds, and I don't think that I mentioned that in the video. But the most famous shepherd of all of those was probably Moses, because Moses was shepherding the sheep of his father-in-law Jethro, and as he was shepherding his sheep in the Sinai desert, he noticed an interesting phenomenon, which was a bush that was being burned but was not consumed. In other words, it kept on burning and burning, and it's a little hard to imagine how that could be, because it was a miracle. And ultimately, he went up to see what was going on over there, and then God appeared to him, and that was the beginning of the story of the Exodus. But
Well, what
Moses,
about the lost sheep? I thought that's what he was looking for when he.
yes. So I don't know that he was looking for the lost sheep when he went to the burning bush. I think he was looking for the burning bush. But a Jewish tradition, a midrash, says that he would go if a single sheep was lost, he would look for him and he would pick him up and carry him. And that's how much he cared for the sheep. And again, I haven't reviewed the text. If I had a little bit more time, I would look it up and read it. But that, I think God saw that personality trait in Moses, that he cared so much. He put 99 sheep aside to take care of the one sheep that needed him most. And that is usually when you're a leader of sheep, when you're a shepherd. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a shepherd, even though my neighbor nearby is a shepherd. We have a few sheep farms around us here in the Judean desert. I would guess you're looking at those sheep. Obviously, if one goes away, you throw a rock at them or something like that. But to say, wow, to really feel this sheep has a problem, I'm going to try to help him. That is something I think is a little bit out of the ordinary.
Well, what you and Bob had talked about years ago, maybe that's 10 years ago, which struck me, was that you said that even though it's a more than a push for Jewish people to look at the Christian scripture, but at the same time, those that do look, they see echoes from because it's written by Jews for Jews about Jews.
Correct.
I got that one from you. So I've used that many a time. And so we see those that have looked, you see echoes and you know where they're getting it from. And it was the parable of the lost sheep with that Jesus talked about. And that's where you and Bob brought that up. And I just thought it was lovely. So if anybody wants to see it, I do have it. I've put it in a file now. I've asked Gidon or Bob probably 2 or 3 times over the years to send it to me again. So now we
I'll be happy to send it every time, man. Don't worry.
Okay, tell us what you want to talk about, because I want them to understand what you do.
Okay, so some of you might have already heard my story. By the way, the people to your left, there are two women to your left, one to your left and one to your right. I'm only seeing 3 in the middle. Do all 5 of you see me? Okay.
Yeah, we can all
Yes,
see you.
Yeah, we
we
see
see
you.
you.
And Christy had to run to the restroom. We're all here.
Okay, right.
I mean,
So
girls here.
I will tell my story in short. Anne has probably heard it a dozen times, and others of you might have heard it also, but I like telling it anyway. I was born in New York in a Orthodox community. You know, Orthodox; those are the people that follow the Jewish laws quite strictly, or at least they aim to. They try to. But in our community, they weren't so strong on that. We're talking about the 60s and the 70s, and there weren't too many stringent Orthodox Jews at the time. For example, Orthodox Jews do not drive in a car on Shabbat. Orthodox Jews do not watch TV on Shabbat. I think that as a kid, I did a little driving on Shabbat and a little watching TV on Shabbat. But when I was in about the 6th grade, my parents took me out of the Orthodox Jewish day school that I was in from 1st grade and put me into a public school. And that gave me that shook me up and said, from now on, I'm going to focus on my Jewish identity. And it's going to be something very important to me. Most people, I don't know how much even adults think about their identity too much. They go according to the Popeye school of identity. I am what I am. I don't think about it too much. But here I was, I had an opportunity just to be just another kid, or an opportunity to say, wow, I'm a Jew and I'm going to take that seriously. And that's what I did. And I was very lucky that I was introduced to the B'nai Akiva Orthodox Jewish Zionist youth movement, where, of course, we had a lot of fun. We went to summer camp and we went on outings and trips. But in between, we had informal education about our Jewish heritage. And specifically, we learned about the five loves: the love of the God of Israel, the love of the people of Israel, the love of the Torah of Israel, the love of the land of Israel, and the love of the state of Israel. And these are the things that I discovered then when I was in 7th or 8th grade. And since then, they have been my guiding light and love. And I don't see you guys too well. The camera's moving back and forth. But usually when I tell that story to Christians, then they're nodding their heads together with me when I talk about those loves. Anyway, in 9th grade, I was in a Jewish high school that wasn't so great. And my parents asked me if I would like to go to Israel for the balance of my high school.
Wow.
And I jumped at the chance. I'd never been there, but I figured it would be pretty much like summer camp just the whole year round. And that's pretty much what it was until today.
Mm.
And I went to a yeshiva high school in Israel. We would study the Torah, the Talmud, Midrash, all sorts of Jewish studies. Of course, there are thousands. When we say that the Jews are the people of the book, I think that people ordinarily think that they're the people of the Bible, which is true. But we're really the people of so many books about Jewish law, Jewish thought, Jewish history. I'll get back to that. So we were studying all of those things from like 8 o'clock in the morning till about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then we do our afternoon high school studies, English, history, chemistry, all sorts of stuff like that, math. And then to top off the end of the day, we do a little bit more Torah study from about 6:30 to 8:30. So that was quite intense. But then when I finished high school, I went to an advanced yeshiva. It was actually a Hesder yeshiva, which was a combination, an arrangement with the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, the Israeli military, the army. The military is ordinarily 3 years, the program. Instead of doing 3 years, we did 5 years. But instead of doing 5 years of direct military duty, we only did a year and a half of active duty. And the other 3.5 years, we were in yeshiva. And we would study from, if in high school we studied from 8 o'clock, in yeshiva we'd study from 6:30 in the morning. We'd get up at 6 o'clock for prayer. And then at finish the morning prayer at about 6:30, 6:45. Then already start studying till about 1 o'clock, breaking for breakfast and break for lunch and a nap. And then in the afternoon, we didn't have to study for high school anymore. So we'd study from about 2 o'clock till 10:30 at night with a break for dinner. So we're talking about from 6:30 in the morning till 10:30 in the night. Take out an hour or two. So that is the intensiveness, the intensity of the studies that I was doing there from about 1980 till about 1987. So those were definitely some of the best years of my life. And Bemet, I have and many people have a dream to create a yeshiva like that for Christians here in Israel, where people can just have a taste of that intensity. One day, Not all dreams can be achieved in a minute. One day, though, I was walking. I had a furlough from the army or from yeshiva. I was walking in Jerusalem, and I saw a sign on an apartment. I crossed the street to read that sign because that's one of my hobbies. You know, you can get a degree in Jewish history just by reading the street signs in Jerusalem. But this was not a street sign. It was the offices of the ICEJ, the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
Oh.
Some of you might have heard of that. I was a little bit surprised and because Jerusalem, that means Jews. Embassy, that means friends. And Christians, we all know what that means. For us, Christians meant the other, because everybody in America then was Christian if they weren't Jewish. And they were just another iteration of Christians for 2,000 years who were the enemies of the Jews, anti-Semites. And then putting that bluntly, I apologize if I'm offending anyone here.
No, you're
No, we
not.
understand, Katrina. We're fine.
But that's what we all felt. I never had an anti-Semitic action done against me personally. But I don't have to talk about nowadays. But as I was growing up, it was part of our mother's milk, as it were, that the Jews, it's us against the world. Yet here were Christians who were extending their hand in friendship to Jews. And that blew my mind. I said, how could that be? I've never heard of such a thing. But I learned in kindergarten that if anybody extends their hand in friendship to you, then you embrace that hand and shake it. So here were people, I would give them the benefit of the doubt that they were sincere. And I shook their hands and I had meetings with them. And I discovered that these were sincere Christians who sincerely loved the Jewish people. I'm not going to go through the whole 5 loves again. And they were thirsty for relationships with Jews. And I felt a calling to respond to that thirst and to avail myself of these people, to be a friend of theirs. This was about in the 80s, maybe the 90s. Little by little, I focused on it more and more until about 12 years ago. For about 15 years, for a few years before that, I had been giving talks to the ICEJ, Bridges for Peace, Christian Friends of Israel. Some of you might know my friend Christine Darg, who's based in Virginia and in England. So she would come from time to time, and I would address her group. And once she invited me to talk to her group, and I said, "Listen, I get to talk to you people once, maybe twice a year. It's not a lot of time. I've got such a thirst to be in touch with you, but I maybe talk to 3, 4, 5 groups a year. That's not a lot. How about I create an online yeshiva for Christians?" And so the whole group gasped and said, "Hallelujah." And one gentleman walked out afterwards and came to me and said, "I'd like to be your first student." And that, of course, as Ann mentioned, was my good friend Bob Odell. But by the way, Ann, Bob sends regards. I just spoke to him about a half an hour ago.
We love Bob. He's going to come and talk. We'll have after Rabbi Ellie will be here on the for a Shabbaton on the 5th and 6th. We're off on Sunday, but Bob is coming for luncheon on Monday. I guess that's the 7th or 8th.
Okay, you're talking about of December.
December, he's going to talk about the Echoes Bible.
Okay, let me just finish this story. He came to me and said, "I'd like to be your first student." And after a while, we saw that we would be partners. And together we expanded on my original idea, and we created Root Source, which is a platform for pro-Israel Christians and Jews to engage with each other, primarily by studying the concepts, ideas, and texts that we have in common. So today we've grown over the years. Today we have about 18 Jewish teachers teaching topics such as women in the Bible, Jewish history, the land of Israel, introductory Hebrew, Jewish prayer. And we've had over 50,000 Christians who have been subscribing to our free weekly newsletter and availing themselves of these over 1,000 recorded lessons online. In addition, we've done some live symposiums with Christian leaders, Christian academics, about things that we have in common. That's the concept of Root Source. We've got so much in common. Let's focus, and we also have a lot that we don't have in common. Like I would say most people, but really that's an understatement. Everybody can focus on what they don't have in common with somebody else. Because everybody has a lot that they don't have in common. Or they can choose to focus on the things that they have in common. So that is what we choose to do at Root Source. And we try not to offend anybody. and that's it. And so we have about, like I said, about 50,000 Christians who have been subscribing to our newsletter. About 1,000 recorded lessons, weekly conversations with people. I hold conversations mostly with Christians, but not only, people of interest. And that is mostly what we've been doing on Root Source. I will talk about two more things, and then I will be happy to get some questions from you. First of all, I will talk about the Echoes Bible that Ann mentioned. The Echoes Bible is a spin-off, if I can use that term, from an idea that our friend Dr. Dave Pitcher came up with, I don't know, about 25 years ago. He was looking through not the Bible, but the Greek, what is the Greek New Testament?
The pastoral letters. He was looking through that.
I don't know what letters. He was looking through. He was looking through some of the epistles. Is that the word? Paul's letters, and he noticed that the Septuagint had certain words. He was looking in probably in a concordance, and he saw that the same word didn't appear a lot in the whole Bible, but it appeared twice. Once in the book of Leviticus, for example, and once in the book of Romans. And then he looked again and he saw that around that one word, there was another word that appeared a few times in both of those texts. So he came up with a thesis that the New Testament, or some books of the New Testament written by Paul, are what he calls a midrash. They are based, as it were, using a book of the Old Testament as a template to write his new story, write the new book of the New Testament. And he looked into this, and he did some research, and he found this to be true in a few books. He told me about it. I said, a good friend of mine, Dave Pitcher, I said, listen, this is very nice. You're now a retired surgeon. May you live to be, as we say in Judaism, may you live to be 120. But after you're done, what's going to be with your idea? If nobody else knows it, what are you going to do? And how much more do you think you have to discover? He had already written about 30 books about this, 20, 30 books. Amazing. I said, I bet that you could find another 1,000 books to write. He said, definitely. I said, well, you can't write 1,000 books by yourself. I think that you should establish an institute to teach students your method so that they can go and find it on their own. So he liked that idea. And so under the aegis of Root Source, we established the Institute of Midrashic Studies of the New Testament, which I have to admit is really pushing the envelope for me, an Orthodox Jew, to be the executive director of a Christian seminary or a mini seminary. But every day every day I wake up and I say, okay, which envelope can I push today? Anyway, so we did this for a few years. Unfortunately, some funding ran out for that last year, so it's on hold. But Bob heard of this as well. And truthfully, I don't go into the content so much, but Bob said, listen, this is a great idea, but I have a different idea. It's like when my wife goes and looks for a recipe online, she finds a recipe and people say, this is a great recipe, and here's how I changed it. So Bob decided to change the model a bit. He also didn't like the word midrash so much. He said there are passages or books in the New Testament that are echoes of things in the Old Testament. So Bob did this unbeknownst to me for, I don't know, about a year or two. And now he has already published 2 books that show these connections. There's not much more that I can say, especially since Bob is going to be coming in about a month or 2 or 3 weeks to talk about his book. So we'll let Bob talk about it. I will only say that we will be doing a virtual launch about these books, the Echoes Bible, online on Zoom and on GiveButter, I think in about 3 weeks. I think January 14th. I'm not even sure. No, December. I don't even remember. You'll hear about it on my newsletter. So that is about the Echoes Bible, as Anne asked me to mention. The other thing that I'd like to mention is the latest project that I'm doing. And Anne, I've told you about this, but the rest of you can also hear it. I was looking at an email newsletter of my friends at the Christian Friends of Israel. A monthly newsletter, weekly newsletter, I don't know. I don't tell them, but I don't read every single one. But all of a sudden I saw a video embedded in the newsletter of an ultra-Orthodox Jew. I pressed the video. Thank you, Christian Friends of Israel. I said, what is this? I know, I've been in this business for a long time. There aren't too many older ultra-Orthodox Jews that even are willing to say the word Christian, much less to say thank you, Christians. I was wondering a little bit, is this for real? But I reached out to them and they gave me his name and phone number and address, and I called him up and I went over and I had a lovely time with him. 95 years old, lives in Mea Shearim. And I brought my friend Sharon Sanders, the retired director and founder of Christian Friends of Israel, and she would start asking him questions. He's a Holocaust survivor. So she'd ask him a question, and I'd translate it into English, and then he'd answer in Hebrew, and then I'd translate the answer into English, and then she would ask another question, and I would translate. You get the idea? So he said, listen, I can tell you all the answers to your questions, no problem. Or I could just give you a copy of my autobiography. So he goes to a drawer in his living room where we were sitting, and he pulls out a copy of his autobiography. So I said, this is very nice. But there are, I think, 3 problems. Number 1, it's a photocopy of a typewritten thing, and you only got 10 copies of it. Number two, only people who come to your house might be able to get a copy of this. And number three, it's in Hebrew. How's that going to help, Sharon? So I didn't mention before that I published through Root Source already about 18 books. I'm not going to mention them right now. But I know a little about publishing books. I said, listen, let me translate your autobiography and publish it in English. So when you're 95 years old, you don't have to say, I'll get back to you. Let me ask some people. You're okay with anything. And so I worked on it. And Baruch Hashem, recently I have released through Faith and Fire, The Life of Rabbi Eliyahu Dermer.
Wow.
So it's a nice book with pictures in it and everything. But I said, you know what? In Hebrew, we have a phrase from the Mishnah. Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor. You are not required to finish the work. But you cannot just relieve yourself and not do it at all. So I said, what I need to do now is to save the live stories of other Holocaust survivors. And so God has put on my heart that that Root Source, through its new project called We Must Not Forget, are going to publish 100 stories of Holocaust survivors that have never been published before in English. And if it would not be for this project, these Holocaust survivors would have died twice. They would be saved from the Holocaust. They'd live out their life, but when they would finally die, their story would die with them. And it's up to us to make sure that doesn't happen. Now, there today are about 250,000 Holocaust survivors still alive.
Wow.
And of course, there have been millions throughout the years who've passed away. And I'll bet there have been thousands of stories that have been put as a book, published as a book. But there are still millions that haven't. So like I said, we can't do it all, but we have to do something. And so what I'm doing is I'm working on finding 100 good stories to adopt and 100, mostly Christians. I'm going to open this up to Jews as well. People who God is putting on their heart to adopt a Holocaust survivor. Today, when you say adopt a Holocaust survivor, buy them a blanket, buy them a heater, give them some money. Great. But that, they say, I don't know what they say. If you want to help a person, give him a fish. If you want to really help them, then teach them how to fish or something like that. You might have heard that.
Yeah.
By publishing these stories, then you are giving a person not only another sandwich so he can live for another hour, you're giving him a certain measure of eternity, of immortality. That's the way I see it. So we're working now, like I said, on finding people who are interested either on their own or through their church or through their school to adopt a Holocaust survivor story. Each one costs about $7,000. Costs $7,000 to adopt, and that can be paid off over 3 years. And it can be, if 70 people each give $100, then you're done. Or if 20 people each give $10 a month for 3 years. So it's really very doable. I try to keep it doable. Well, and of course, and this is my opportunity to remind you that you've committed to write down Tova's story. So I'm reminding you to be in touch with Parthenia and Naomi, and of course with Tova, and to get it done.
no, we know that. I told you I have to get through this Judea Samaria experience. And as soon as we get that over with, I am on that next.
Please tell me about the Judea Samaria experience.
Well, in I think maybe you and I have talked about the fact, wouldn't it be nice if there was like a Texas, Israel embassy? Like
Yes,
one
yes,
in
yes.
Fort Worth, and there could be one in Jerusalem. And like Byron Stinson said, and it wouldn't be hard. You just need to get just a couple of people in each place. He said the governor ought to help with that, and Israel and so forth. Well, I was with Chaim Silverstein and
Zimmerman.
Avi Zimmerman
Yes.
in May. And I've known Avi for years, 14
I
years.
didn't know that.
Yeah. And well, he's we always would see him in Ariel.
Yes.
But, so I knew him, and he happened to ride back with me on the bus in May after we were out at that old airport. And Carol was out there with us. And he stopped me cold. I was just telling him my heart because the people that go with me, everybody that's ever gone with me, it's because they wanted to go to these places in the Hebron Hills, but they don't know how to get there. And so I was telling him my dream about a place in downtown Fort Worth. He said, Ann, there's something called the internet. You need to look at the internet, and you can do this from, he didn't say it exactly this way, but you do it from your kitchen table. You can do it from the kitchen table. So I'm surprised you don't know about this, Gidon. Do you know who Franny Wiseman is from Ephraim?
You asked me to introduce myself. You introduced the two of us, and finally last week we had a lovely Zoom conversation. She's quite a gal.
Well, she is, and Avi did not know her, but he met her a few months ago, and he said, Ann, I have found the person who needs to do these podcasts. So we need to raise 55,000, which we've got half of it done, and we're going to get, please God, before Thanksgiving that we get the other half. And so for the 55,000, it pays for 20 to maybe 22 podcasts going to places like your community and letting you tell your story, for instance. And at the end of it, he said, do you want to come visit Gidon? Have you ever wanted to be to the Hebron Hills? And he'll take you around, not just to there, but he will be your guide. And then, so John and I have arranged for 2 websites. One website will be for the podcast. The second website will be for Yael. I don't know what Yael's name is. She's always worked for Avi Zimmerman. And so Yael will, it's already working. We've already been able to connect people. And so Yael would, they say, I just saw this guy Gidon Ariel. I want to go see him. How do I do that? And then Yael will make the connections, and then you can take it from there.
Well, start by making the connection between me and Yael, because I'm not even sure who you're talking about.
Well, Yael is the person with it that operates the connection
website. What's the name of that website?
That part. And so she would get you in contact with the people who want to come see Gidon Ariel. Does that make sense? So we're still 27.5, a little short, but we've talked to people, and it's going to come in. So, but
I'm very confident with you, Ann, and hopefully there'll be some left over for Root Source after that.
Well, we personally give to Gidon, and have for years, because he has a wonderful, wonderful website. And by the way, Texans for a Safe Israel helped you with that man's book initially.
Certainly did.
And
Here it is
absolutely, this is a
it's in
wonderful.
And here in the acknowledgements, we've got Ann Stacy right here. Well, you can't see it, but believe me.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. Texans for a Safe Israel, I think, said it. Maybe I said it. I don't know. Anyway, the main thing is it came from Texas.
Right.
But I like what you just said. Do you all know Holocaust? We're going to take care of Tova. Tova's will be done. But I love this. Adopt a Holocaust
That's
survivor.
really neat. Yeah, I hadn't heard that.
And I tell you, there's a lovely lady. Gidon, you probably met her, Rosie Ann. Rosie Ann? No? Well, there's
I'm
only
not sure what you're talking about.
a another Holocaust survivor. She was there at the thing yesterday.
Oh,
Rosie
I
Ann?
didn't meet her.
You're talking about somebody in Texas?
Yeah, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
No, I've only met Tova. I mean, I might have met somebody else, but nobody has been
Oh.
around with me so much as Tova.
Okay, let me put you in contact with Ryan. I think I got you to talk to him one time.
Ryan Lambert?
No, he was a pastor at Gateway. He's lost his position simply they've reorganized the money wise. I'll think of his name here, but I think he would work with you on Rosie Ann. Rosie Ann's another Holocaust survivor.
Excellent, excellent. Make sure you write down to get me in touch with Rosie Ann and with that Ryan pastor or whoever it is.
Yeah, I will. But does that? I mean, that's what he's saying is doable.
Mhm.
It's very doable. So
Anyway, I'm not sure who's who over there. I mean, I know the Chrissy's at the other end of the table, but if you ladies are at all interested, then please be in touch with me. And even if you're not interested in that, be in touch with me anyway, because I always like to talk to people.
okay, the guy's name is Ryan Warren, and I'm going to send you his contact. But there was a famous show, a sitcom called just about Raymond. Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah.
And he works for that lady because I'll get her name too. She's very a Christian, very pro-Israel.
Are you talking about Heaton? No, I don't know. Whoever it is.
Patricia Heaton, yes. Patricia Heaton, that's who he works for now.
Yeah, so somebody connected was trying to connect me to Patricia Heaton, but we kept on trying. It didn't work. But maybe now it'll work.
Well, it was that guy in Chicago that's your friend.
Right.
And I don't know her, but let's try again. Anyway, Ryan works for her totally now, okay? And but he needs to talk to you about this because Rosie Ann does not have a book either. And now she was a hidden child. Was that? I mean,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
very interesting.
yeah. So anyway, and she's an artist, and I mean, she was quite a personality. I mean, of course, she was, like I say, a hidden child. Okay, so I'll do that when we get off of this and send you his number. Okay.
Thank you very much. Tov, I spoke much longer than I was expecting, but that's the way it is sometimes. But I still have time if any of you want anything that you want to talk about, or we can save it till the next time. Anne, that's a very thick hint.
I have a question.
Who's asking?
Jennifer. I don't know. I'm sure it'll come to me. It's not the moment.
Yeah.
So one of the things I was learning through our study that we do on Tuesdays is that the Jewish people study more than just what I think of as the scriptures. There's more books. So I wondered back 2,000 years ago or more, when people went to the synagogue and they'd bring out the scriptures and the scrolls and they'd read the Torah portion and all of that. Is that when they would read some of these other books as well? Or how did the average regular Jewish person in society learn more than just what was read at synagogue that Sunday? Because it wasn't like they all had books at home they could go just sit down and read. You know, how did that all work?
That's absolutely right. Not only 2,000 years ago, but even 550 years ago was before the printing press.
Right.
And even after the printing press was invented, it took many, many years until books became popular enough that people could own them.
Available, financially available, and
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that for a long time, society in general and Israeli Jewish society specifically was an oral society, an oral traditions.
Okay.
So, for example, there is a type of work, a book, you want to call it a book, called the Mishnah. You might have heard of it. So the Mishnah was primarily discussions, the documentation, if you will, of discussions regarding the commandments in the Torah. Of course,
okay.
the Torah is the 5 books of Moses.
Mhm.
There are hundreds of commandments. You know, thou shalt not this, thou shalt not that. There are, according to Jewish tradition, 613 commandments in the Bible, in the Torah. So any group of commandments they would divide into a volume of Mishnah, and they would discuss it in the study hall. And at the end of a certain epoch, a certain era, then a rabbi by the name of Rabbi Yehuda, he basically codified the Mishnah. But until then, everybody knew the Mishnah off by heart. And the word Mishnah even means to repeat, with a connotation of repeat it in order to know it by heart.
Mm. Okay. So,
Mhm.
how about, oh, keep going. Sorry.
I was just going to say that the Mishnah was created around 200 or 300 years BC until 100 or so AD, which means that was exactly the text that Jesus and his the people who lived at the same time of him were studying.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot, and again, there have been books published about this. I didn't read them because I'm hoping one day to write my own book about this. He would take a Mishnah and understand it and comment on it in a innovative way, and that is what he would teach. And some of those teachings made it into the New Testament. That's the way I understand. Not all of the New Testament, not all of Jesus's writings.
Yeah.
But there were other things at the time. But I would have to say, Jennifer, that I think that a majority of Jews in Jesus's time were not scholars. And as much as we'd like to say, oh, the Jewish tradition of studying, very important, I don't think so. I think that is a revisionist perspective on history. I'm saying this just from my gut. I don't have a doctorate in First Temple Judaism. But I'm saying this because there was a lot of civil war going on in that time period. And if people were more knowledgeable about the Bible and about the Mishnah, then they probably wouldn't have been too upset with each other. They would have been able to survive better. So that's what I think. I think I've answered your question.
I think so. My imagery has always just been that on Sabbath they would gather at synagogue and they would read from the scrolls, and
Yes.
they probably have discussions for the majority of the Sabbath, as long as eating and things about different parts of scriptures or about God or different principles. And then on a day-to-day basis, they're probably doing their work and chatting from time to time about things, but mostly just living life.
Of
And
course.
that's why I was like, oh, I'm surprised that there's so many different books that are in addition to, I always knew that there was lots of books, but in addition to what got into the canons that I'm familiar with. And I'm like,
In addition to what?
to the canons that I'm familiar with. So I'm like, oh, interesting. And how did they even know all that? Because unless you were someone who took more time for studying, how would you even have time? Unless that was part of what was also taught at synagogue, was more than just the books that I'm familiar with from the Old Testament.
So I don't know about you, but I've been guests for Shabbat at a few friends in Texas, mostly Christian friends who bring together some of their own friends, and they spend the Shabbat discussing the weekly portion as you've just mentioned. I'm a little bit embarrassed to say that that is not something that happens so much today in Orthodox Jewish homes. We go to the prayer in the morning. It's about a 2 hour long prayer. About a half an hour of that prayer is ceremonially reading the portion of the week. It takes about a half an hour, and you read it. And some people read along, and some people read some of the commentaries on the portions that is being read, but it's not the focus. Today, we're 2,000 years after that, and so much ancillary writings have been created that there is I would say a library, but there are thousands of libraries worth of books that have been created over the centuries and even till today. And so that is what people who want to study Torah, they can find what they like. And that is what they're studying. But most of that came about, I think, after the destruction of the Second Temple, when
In 70 AD.
I don't remember which rabbi it was who said, "Now we're being exiled. The temple is destroyed, and we're being exiled. What are we going to do? We're going to be people without a homeland." So they said, we have to become the people of the portable homeland. And that portable homeland is our Torah. So when the people kept on studying and studying the Torah in the methodology that they were used to, which is arguing about what it actually said, so that created more, and that created a society based on innovative study. And
That's where the Talmud came from. Was the
exactly. So some of it was innovative, some of it was traditions passed down for generation after generation after generation. But you really have to be grateful to the Jewish people who what really, some Christians, or not Christians, some anti-Semites say, oh, the Talmud is horrible. But Christians really have to understand that they have to be very grateful for the Jewish people that they've created the Talmud. Why is that? Because if you love something, then you're going to focus on it. If you're going to focus on it, you're going to be creative. There's creativity going on. If I like the Little House on the Prairie, so there's going to be fan fiction written about Little House on the Prairie, and an academic volume or an annotated, and more. You're going to you want to learn about the life of the people at the time. In other words, the more you love something, the more you're going to create things about it. So the fact that the Jewish people created the Talmud is proof that they loved the Torah. Had they not created the Talmud, it would have been proof that they don't love the Torah so much. Had they not loved the Torah so much, they would have forgotten it. Had they forgotten the Torah, then where would be Jesus? That you understand.
Mhm.
So the Talmud itself is a spectrum of content. Much of all of it is in Aramaic. Recently, it's been translated into English, but even in English, most of it is difficult to fathom. But a lot of it is fascinating and beautiful, and really gives heart. Some of it is a little bit embarrassing, like the embarrassing uncle that you have at Thanksgiving dinner.
You reminded me of another question I have, and that is, I never know if there's some Christian traditions that may not be accurate. So here's a question. A lot of people talk about Aramaic being the common language of Jesus' day, but was it really? Because I would tend to think he really spoke Hebrew more than Aramaic, but what is the truth?
I think again, I wish that I would be a doctorate of First Temple period of
It's okay
Second
for that.
Temple.
What's your opinion?
I'm not going to give you more of my opinion, but more my gut feeling based on things that I picked up here and there. Let's call it an educated guess.
Okay.
As I mentioned, the Mishnah, which was developed and ultimately codified around the time of Jesus, maybe 50, 100 years after.
Mhm.
The Mishnah was written in Hebrew.
Okay.
The Talmud was written in Aramaic. Now, there were two Talmuds. The Talmud that was created in Babylon, in Babylonia,
Mhm.
and the other Talmud was created in Israel, in the land of Israel.
Okay.
Which, by the way, is tremendous proof that, first of all, the Roman exile did not exile all Jews, because enough Jews stayed in Israel, at the very least, to create the Jerusalem Talmud. It's called in the Eretz Yisrael Talmud. So they were still here, and they stayed here for most of the 2,000 years. Virtually all of 2,000 years, there was always Jewish presence in the land of Israel. But at what point did the lingua franca, pardon the expression, switch over from Hebrew to Aramaic? Not sure. Chances are it was probably around Jesus' time, so it was a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But certainly the New Testament itself was probably written at least 50 years after Jesus' death, certainly later parts of it. Am I right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah.
So by then that was already later. So it's possible that the New Testament was written quoting Jesus and his contemporaries as if they spoke in Aramaic, but they were actually speaking in Hebrew, or a little bit of both.
I'm guessing
Like,
it's just it's a lot of miscellaneous letters and different people writing, hey, this is what I know about the story of Jesus being here.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if there was some of one and some of the other from our conversation. Is Aramaic the language that the Romans had as the common language, or where did Aramaic come from? I don't.
Oh, that is a great question. It certainly wasn't the Roman language. The Roman language was Roman. What is the
Greek
source? What is the root of the Aramaic language? I have no good educated guess to really answer that. I can make something up if you'd like.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering where it came into this, like why Israelis or Hebrews started speaking into Aramaic rather than just keeping Hebrew.
That's an excellent question. That's an excellent question. As the teacher says, let me get back to you tomorrow about that.
And that's why I thought, well, maybe the Romans brought it then. I don't understand. Because then later we have the New Testament translated into Greek, and I'm like, well, then why? I mean, like, why not just go with the original then? You know, I guess always who's the audience, right? That's really why you translate some things.
Your question is,
and I always try to get back to the original whenever you look to see an answer is, well, what did it say at the first time?
So two things I'd like to say. Your question is, what is the history of the development of languages in the Middle East, in the land of Israel and Egypt and Babylonia, these areas and Greece? How did the languages develop in those times? I don't need the whole history, but I don't know. It's very interesting.
Because the Torah was written in Hebrew, right?
The Torah was written in
already
Hebrew?
existing by then.
Listen, actually, now that you're reminding me, I think I have a little bit of an answer to your previous question.
Okay.
The Torah was written in Hebrew. The Nevi'im, the prophets, were the Torah. Its time period was basically the 40 years in the desert of Moses. Then came the prophets from Joshua till the end of the first temple. And the writings were also during that period. Towards the end of the historical books of the Old Testament are the books of Ezra, Nehemiah, and Daniel. Much of those three books are written in Aramaic.
Okay.
And again, that's something that you might not notice if you read the Bible in English, because of course they're going to translate it whether it comes from Hebrew or Aramaic.
Yeah.
When you pick up a Bible in Hebrew, where'd it go? Here it is. 1 second. And I pick up the Bible in Hebrew. So I read the Bible Hebrew.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I get to Ezra and Nehemiah, and you say, "What the heck is this?"
Really?
So. But that's what it is. What can I say? And so this specific edition has a translation from Aramaic into Hebrew.
Wow.
As an appendix.
Really? Well, we're reading. We just finished Jeremiah, and we're currently reading Nehemiah right now at home.
Okay. So
funny.
So again, what my beloved Christian friends who love the Bible so much, they read it together without so much baggage that we Jews have. And they just take it as face value and discuss it, which is, as I said, I've participated in such Bible studies, and it's exhilarating. But the unfortunate thing is that you're reading it in English and not in the original. And that is why I certainly encourage people to read Hebrew. Not everybody to learn Hebrew. Not everybody merits that in their lifetime. But I have a friend, Ann. I don't know if you know Dr. Brad Young. Have you heard of him?
Well, no, well, he doesn't know me, but I certainly know.
Just 1 second. Somebody's making a big noise out here. What is it? What were you saying?
Oh, I have his Bible.
Yes, he's been a Bible scholar and professor for decades, and he's recently published a new translation of the New Testament. He calls it the Newer Testament, I think. And he's taking into consideration that it is a book by Jews for Jews, and I think that I'm not sure what he thinks, but there are scholars who believe that the New Testament was originally written in Hebrew. Some believe that most, I think, believe that it was originally written in Greek. Some believe it was written in Aramaic.
Most Christians will say Aramaic, but Monica and her husband in their studies are like, there's just a lot of reasons to think this was originally Hebrew and translated into Aramaic pretty early on. So I'm like, oh, interesting. I hadn't thought about that. But then when I think about how it was written and how there was a lot of different writings that the early church had to say, okay, well, what's authentic and what's going to be helpful to keep and contain as our canon, there were a lot of writings to choose from. It doesn't mean they were all written in one language.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They probably multiple, like you were showing. So it's just kind of
interesting. Look, especially I understand that the New Testament is mostly the 4 Gospels, then the book of Acts,
Bunch of
then a bunch of
letters.
epistles, and then Revelation. That's pretty much the situation.
Yeah.
So the epistles, the letters, they were written probably in the language that the recipients would understand.
Right, and that's quite a variety. So that could have been at least 2 languages, if not 3 or 4.
Well, Gidon, we've been going an hour. I can't tell you
Oh.
how much we appreciate it. I think it stopped taping. No, you're doing it. You're doing
I'm
it.
doing the taping.
You're doing it. Well, I want to say something. This has changed my life, my prayer life, and the Amidah. And I'm hoping that we'll have somebody come and just go through the Amidah with us sometime. You want
So
to?
I'm your man. I'm your man because I've taught on Root Source, Pray Like a Jew, an introduction to Jewish prayer. So unfortunately, I ran out of gas when I got about a tenth of that book. But my vision was to continue on to do the whole Amidah and the rest of it. And now that you're asking me, maybe I'll pick it up again and I'll do it some more.
Well, I would love that. We have a mutual friend, Menachem Bar Shalom. And by the way, he's in town, and I introduced him to Raphael, and Raphael has a Bible study tomorrow, and he thinks he's a rabbi. I've told him like 3 times he's not a rabbi, but he's as good as any rabbi. I love that guy. And he's the one time, he said, Ann, I know what you can do. You can read the Amidah. He said, go get your Siddur. And he said, now open it up to contents. Move your finger down. And he said, pray the Shema first and do the Amidah. But I read it in the morning, and I've started reading it at night before I go to bed. It just amazes me at the organization of it. I mean to tell you, the Jews hit every possible aspect in there of any prayers. If unless you're just reading and not paying any attention, if you stop and let God talk to you, you'll have a lot to pray about. So I would love that. Let's talk about that, okay?
You bet we
That's
will.
what I'm going to give. I'm giving it as Christmas presents. Yeah, well, to a couple of people. I've got 3 of them over here. There's a guy, his name is Mordecai. No, not Mordecai. Yeah, Mordecai. He is a Jewish fella, and he goes to Chabad, and he comes here. Somehow, it's another story how he got here. And I don't know how he goes to Chabad and he doesn't have one of these. And so
because he uses a different edition.
okay, well, I don't know. He said so. Anyway, I got him one. I've probably given 20 of them away through the years. David Krugman said one time in 2014, "You'll never know the Jewish heart until you read the Siddur." And was he ever right? Now, it took me years, nearly 10 years to start doing it, but it is wonderful. And I love it.
Okay, that's good. Okay,
All
thank you
right.
for that endorsement.
Well, let's do it. Think about it and tell us how we can get together, okay?
Thank you very much. So the camera is just focused on my 2 lovely friends, Ann and Jennifer. Is anybody else still there?
And
Yep,
I'm
yep,
still
Carol's
here. It doesn't stretch this far.
Yeah, that's a bummer. I would have loved to see more of you. Tough. Next time you'll switch seats with Jennifer.
Yeah.
We'll have more people next time.
Okay, Jan. Ann, make sure to keep on inviting me. This has been lovely.
Well, I will. I'm gonna connect you with Ryan today, okay? Through
I trust you took good notes.
WhatsApp. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to sleep though.
Bless you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Tough. Have a great day. Bye bye.
Too.